Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to have a look at a news story, and the headline on this one is 10 correctional officers charged following death of Indigenous man in Newfoundland jail. Now there's a lot going on in this one, and it's really frustrating, this particular thing. It's really upsetting, and not just because a person is dead, but let's have a look at what's going on. So we see here that 10 correctional officers have been charged with crimes ranging from manslaughter to criminal negligence causing death in connection with the 2019 death of an Inuk man in a St. John's jail. So manslaughter, criminal negligence causing death, these are not minor charges. These are a big deal. So let's sort of have a look at some other details, because things start to get very strange in this particular case. The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary announced the charges in a Tuesday news release that didn't include the officers' identities, when they were arrested, or under what conditions they were released. That's unusual. I will tell you that if I was picked up for manslaughter, they would absolutely be revealing my name and probably a whole bunch of other details. They'd probably be making a specific mention of my occupation, for example. But here, they're hiding the officers' names. This is something that we only see ever happen when it's officers charged. When it's anyone else, names are out, officers charged, oh no, we need to respect their privacy for some reason. So that's concerning. But it goes on. There's more to be concerned about here. So they say that they won't release their identities until the charges are sworn in court, which again, not a courtesy they'd extend to you or me. And they're saying that this will happen before February 11th, when they're due before a judge. The 10 correctional officers were released under conditions set by police, and that they have not received a bail hearing. So they were released on, one of the forms of officer release, and without a bail hearing. This is unbelievable that somebody who's charged with manslaughter gets released by the police without a hearing. If I was charged with manslaughter, I guarantee you, I'd be brought before a justice of the peace or a judge and have to speak to bail. And bail would be very much a maybe, not a definite, but this has got to be argued for. It would probably take, a lot of work. There'd be a lot of effort put into that bail hearing, in terms of trying to, craft conditions. I guarantee you as well that it would be, if I were to get release on a manslaughter charge, it'd be under really strict conditions, probably with, much steeper, either cash or a promise to pay, some form of release with a financial obligation much greater than can be imposed on an officer in charge release. But no, these guys get to skip ahead of the line, and there's no bail hearing for these guys. And again, when we're wondering why, what reason can we think of other than the fact that they are correctional officers? We're supposed to have equality before the law. It's supposed to be that a police officer or a correctional officer who's charged with an offense is treated exactly the same as anyone else in their situation who is charged with an offense. But it doesn't appear that that's what's going on here. Now, I'm not psychic. I can't read the police officers' minds. Maybe they have some other reason. But it's not on the table right now. I can't imagine one. So that's a little concerning here. This process of releasing them, by the police release essentially creates a barrier between the media and their bail conditions, so that those conditions are not known to us. The news article notes that those conditions have not been disclosed. Now, I wonder about that because, for instance, if I were charged with manslaughter, again, I'm sure that they would impose a condition not to have any weapons and not to have any firearms. I wonder if that was imposed on these officers, or if they were not subject to such conditions. Normally as well, if a killing was said to have happened in the course of someone's employment, they would almost certainly impose conditions that say, you can't do that, sort of employment anymore until at least these charges are resolved, that you're, barred from that. Did they do that here, or are these correctional officers going to be able to go back to work? Yeah, it's just really hard to fathom what's going on here. But here's the bigger concern that that we have here. The police play a very integral role in the prosecution of offenses because they gather all the evidence, they testify in court, and so forth. Where we see, as in a situation like this, at least the appearance of favoritism, how are people supposed to expect that this is going to be a fair trial? How are people supposed to expect, supposed to come out the other end of this and say, yeah, justice has been done here if there's an acquittal? If there's a conviction, sure, we'll say, okay, this favoritism didn't end up helping them in the end. But if there's an acquittal, people are going to wonder, did the police, who seem to cut them breaks, cut them other breaks that might have helped them, get that acquittal? This is really concerning. I've never seen or heard of a manslaughter charge, at least not that I can think of, that was released just as an officer in charge release. It's unbelievable to me. So this case, to my mind, is shocking. It's already gone way off the rails. I don't know what they were thinking. How did they not think that this is going to give at least the appearance of compromising their integrity? Anyway, I could rant on this for a while. I'm sure I'd be very repetitive because, quite frankly, this just makes me angry. It makes me, really upset when I see the different tiers of justice that are being afforded here. And of course, it's going to be, bandied about quite a bit, and not unfairly, that the dead man is an Indigenous man. He's, an Inuk man who is in the St. John's jail. I don't know if these correctional officers were Indigenous, but of course, the police have had a real, struggle to maintain sort of the appearance of legitimacy, to maintain respect among the public, and in particular to maintain that with respect to their dealings towards Aboriginal accused as well as other sort of vulnerable accused. How did they think this was going to play in that particular world zeitgeist that we've got here? This is a terrible decision on so many levels, and I guess we're going to be watching this because this is going to be a case of national interest. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments on this. This may end up being one of those cases that ends up getting Parliament to step in and change the law and pass some reactionary law to deal with this, but anyway, I have some real concerns with what happened here. So thank you for watching. I hope that this has been at least interesting. You've got my take on it. It's, again, a bit of a ranty take, but I hope you've enjoyed it or found it educational. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level: Demo, People of Canada, Sir Daniel Wicks of Alberta, Canada's National Firearms Association, Toronto Airsoft, and Rail. At the $20 level, Cameron Johnson, Kevin Fleet, and Dale Nesbitt. And at the $10 level, a number of you who I appreciate and will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you once again, and I hope this has armed you with knowledge.